This picturesque Italian city, unlike any other, is an architectural marvel, rising gracefully from the waterways. It leaves us pondering how and why the Venetians devised such a unique urban landscape. Have you ever found yourself captivated by Venice, renowned as one of the world's most iconic cities due to its enchanting canal system? Join us on a journey as we unravel the fascinating story of Venice's canals and discover the secrets behind why very few people live in Venice. Venice's official population figure is 258,685 residents, but approximately 200,000 of them don't reside in the iconic city center. To these individuals, their homes do not resemble the picturesque canals of Venice. Instead, they look like any typical Italian city. This is because the majority of Venetians live outside the historic district, primarily on the mainland. Venice's full community boundary extends beyond the historic center to include various islands within the lagoon and the terra firma, which means mainland. While it's true that many cities have more residents on the outskirts than in their historic cores, Venice stands out for two key reasons. Firstly, during its zenith in the 1600s, the historic center was home to 200,000 people, vastly outnumbering the surrounding areas. Today, it houses only 50,000 residents, representing a significant decline that can't be attributed to suburbanization, as is common in U.S. cities. Secondly, Venice's lesser-known regions, those outside the historic center, are often overlooked by people. Many might not even realize that Venice extends beyond the lagoon. In this discussion, we aim to rectify this oversight and delve into the broader context of Venice's evolution from a city primarily in the lagoon to one where the majority of its residents now inhabit the mainland. Before its decline, Venice was a maritime republic, highly prosperous and known for its magnificent buildings. However, the city's fortunes took a turn when it surrendered to Napoleon in 1797 and subsequently became a part of the newly formed nation of Italy in 1861. Today, Italy is comprised of 20 regions, a structure akin to the United States states or Canadian provinces. Venice is situated in the region of Veneto and serves as its administrative center. It is nestled within the broader metropolitan area known as Petrev, encompassing Padua, Treviso, and Venice. This bustling metropolitan hub is home to approximately 2.7 million residents, fostering strong connectivity among its cities. For instance, the railway system boasts a robust network, with around 100 trains running daily between Padua and Venice. The journey, which typically lasts 29 minutes on a regular train, is halved in duration when utilizing a high-speed train. While many of these trains terminate at Santa Lucia Station in Venice's historic center, a significant number also make stops at Venice Mestre Station, an essential component of the region's rail infrastructure. In the context of northeastern Italy, historic Venice undoubtedly serves as a prominent focal point. Nevertheless, it constitutes just a fraction of the more extensive urban entity known as Venice, accounting for merely 10% of the greater Petreve metropolitan area. As mentioned at the outset, this configuration hasn't always been the case. In the early 1900s, the majority of Venice's populace still resided within the confines of the historic city. However, a significant shift has occurred since the 1950s, resulting in an annual decrease of approximately 1,200 residents within Venice itself. In contrast, the population of Mestre has seen a marked increase as an increasing number of individuals who once called the historic city home have opted for the more affordable mainland. On the mainland, residents are more likely to find employment in sectors beyond tourism, with places like Marghera boasting substantial industrial and shipping industries. In the current landscape, over 70% of those residing in the broader metropolitan city of Venice have chosen the mainland as their domicile, while only about 20% continue to call the historic city their home. This transition reflects a complex urban evolution that has transformed the demographic and economic dynamics of this fascinating region. So what factors do you think have contributed to this significant shift in Venice's urban geography over the years? For those who still call Venice home, the need to venture off the island for their everyday shopping remains a common practice. So what led to the transformation of Venice, once a bustling maritime republic at the heart of immense prosperity, into a smaller but still notable section of a broader region? Throughout its storied history, Venice thrived on a robust economy driven primarily by trade. However, it was not just a hub for commerce, it also had a thriving manufacturing sector. For instance, the island of Burano was renowned for its expertise in lace-making, while Murano emerged as a significant center for producing exquisite glassware. However, over the past century, the glass-making industry in Murano has substantially diminished, largely due to the mass production of inexpensive glass items like beads and bottles in other locations. Consequently, today, only luxury glass products are crafted in Murano. Manufacturing activities in Venice have dwindled considerably, and its role as a thriving trade hub has experienced a marked decline. In the early 20th century, the city underwent a shift in focus, prioritizing the preservation of its rich historical architecture, art, and culture. Initially, this was economically advantageous, attracting numerous tourists eager to immerse themselves in the city's extraordinary cultural heritage. However, as the annual influx of tourists continued to rise, shop owners increasingly opted for selling more affordable, mass-produced souvenirs, thereby diluting the traditional artistry associated with crafts and industries such as glassmaking. Local shopkeepers, unable to compete with this trend, eventually either relocated to the mainland or shuttered their businesses altogether. This transition allowed tourist-centric stores to fill the void left by the closure of these time-honored establishments. In light of these historical shifts, how do you think Venice should balance its commitment to preserving its cultural heritage with the need to sustain a viable economy for its residents? The city's shift towards catering to tourists had an inevitable consequence: an influx of more visitors. Venice's maximum sustainable daily tourist capacity hovers around 22,500 tours per day. However, in 2021, certain periods saw a staggering 80,000 tours daily. At times, this surge in tourists outnumbers the local population by nearly a 2-to-1 ratio, prompting some to label Venice as a transient city, given that a majority of its residents are merely passing through, soon to be replaced by other tourists. This influx has placed considerable strain on the dwindling number of remaining locals. Residents have reported enduring extensive hours-long queues at restaurants, museums, and public transit, an occurrence that has become all too common. The friction between tourists and locals has escalated. These compounding factors have led to a significant decline in resident comfort since the 1950s, particularly in recent decades. With businesses catering primarily to tourists and the affluent, there has inadvertently been a surge in the cost of living within the historic city. The resultant scarcity of essential everyday businesses, such as grocery stores and retail shops, further compounds the challenges for the local population. As tourism thrived, many locals found themselves priced out of housing and grappling with diminished employment opportunities. Landlords, capitalizing on the tourism-driven demand, have significantly raised rent prices for residents. An illustrative example highlights the predicament, where a family lost their Venetian apartment when their landlord raised the monthly rent from €800 to €1,500. Regrettably, social services have been unable to offer assistance, citing the overwhelming number of similar cases that they were already addressing. Once priced out of their apartments, landlords often convert the rentals into Airbnb properties, hostels, or other accommodations geared towards tourists, seeking to maximize their returns. This, unfortunately, perpetuates the unaffordability, not only for low-income residents, but also for middle-income residents. The disparity in rental costs across the lagoon, which are typically half of those in historic Venice, underscores the growing affordability crisis in the city. Certain Venetian locals are determined to preserve their city in its current state, but this endeavor is complicated by the fact that younger residents with lower incomes are frequently the first to be priced out. This has resulted in an aging population in a city that is, generally speaking, challenging to navigate for the elderly and disabled. Concerns are growing that if a significant number of young adults continue to leave Venice in search of more affordable housing and employment on the mainland, it could deplete the city of its future social fabric, characterized by a diverse workforce. The substantial population decline has raised anxieties about the city's prospects. Many are pondering whether there are any viable approaches to make Venice more appealing and affordable for its residents. In the realm of urban planning, initiatives tailored to tourists often diverge from the city's overarching urban development plans. There is an underlying fear that Venice may have reached a point where its mounting issues are insurmountable. Critics of Venice's urban planning initiatives have voiced a desire for greater emphasis on resident well-being, sustainability, and resilience in both short and long-term urban planning. Striking a balance between these goals and the tourism-centric objectives has proven to be a challenge. Historic Venice, which is becoming increasingly overcrowded due to tourism, is experiencing a shift. Mestre is steadily attracting more tourists each year, primarily because of its proximity to the historic city, the presence of intriguing historical sites, and the availability of typical everyday businesses and shops that are often scarce in historic Venice. A lingering concern is when Venice might cease to be not just a ghost town for its residents, but also for tourists. In the year 2021, this issue took center stage. Venice faced a close call when UNESCO considered including it on its list of World Heritage Sites in jeopardy. However, the city managed to evade this classification by implementing a ban on cruise ships in the city center. The Venetian government has also made efforts to introduce various policies aimed at curbing the influx of tourists. They recently introduced a daily fee ranging from 3 to 10 euros for day trippers to the island. Nonetheless, they have yet to establish an official cap on the number of visitors allowed in the historic city in a single day. While these measures have temporarily safeguarded the city from being labeled as endangered, UNESCO anticipates further actions to protect Venice from the perils of over-tourism and population decline. They are looking for these efforts to be enacted by a deadline later this year. The city's increasing reliance on tourism, heightened susceptibility to population decline, and the looming impact of climate change all raise questions about how long Venice can continue to remain a viable and attractive destination. In reality, historic Venice may not have a long-term future, prompting it to make sense for ordinary Venetians to consider leaving. The demise of the Republic, the pressures of an ever-growing tourist presence, and the encroachment of rising sea levels all foreshadow a grim fate for historic Venice. By the year 2100, when someone mentions they are visiting Venice, it may not refer to the city's current state, but an entirely different reality. Our mission is to make geography come alive, to inspire curiosity about the world around us, and to foster a deeper understanding of our planet's incredible diversity. Thank you for joining us on another journey through the fascinating world of modern geography. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep exploring with us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update.